What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Big Donch Show. Today, we're going to be using a tier list to rank the greatest heavyweight boxers of all time. Let's get right into it. Alrighty, here we go. So, what I have here is about 20 to 25 heavyweights I think there are of just either champions or just the greatest. Alright, I mean, when you think of heavyweight boxers, you think of these guys already. I'm sure I'm missing some. If I missed any, hey, let me know. Okay, also, if you disagree with any of these lists or any of these tier rankings, comment also down below. I'm happy to respectfully debate. So let's get right into it. Right off the bat, let's first put the two greatest heavyweight boxers in my opinion. All right, that's going to be S tier. First one is Muhammad Ali. I think Muhammad Ali is not only the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time, but I also think he is the greatest boxer of all time. Why? Well, because he basically had two Hall of Fame careers. One before his suspension and one after. If you cut his career in half, he's making the Hall of Fame in either half of his career. First half before his suspension obviously was his best years, fastest heavyweight boxing has ever seen. I love his career more so after his suspension. You know, defeating Joe Frazier, George Foreman. In my opinion, one of the greatest performances ever, one of the best wins in sports history, not only boxing history, because nobody thought Muhammad Ali was gonna win. George Foreman was a prime, dangerous man, especially after what he did to Joe Frazier. Then later on in his career, picked up a bunch of wins, title defenses, goes against Leon Spinks, loses, shocked the world, comes back. All right, here he's slowed down, he's shown side effects, he lost a step, ends up avenging his loss against Leon Spinks. His greatest win was against George Foreman, but in my opinion, my favorite win was his Leon Spinks win. That's why he's S tier. Next up, the second, is going to be Joe Louis. Now, this one might be controversial, right? You might be thinking, oh no, he's A tier. I think Mike Tyson should be S tier. I'll explain Mike Tyson later, but I think Joe Louis is up there with Muhammad Ali, the two greatest heavyweights of all time. I think they share that, and they stand alone there. Joe Louis, longest reigning champion of all time, defended his belt for like 10 plus years. But Joe Louis, though, during his prime, I mean, he was the greatest heavyweight boxer up until Ali, and people could still argue that Joe Louis is still the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. But Ali and Joe Louis, they're S tier. They stand alone there. So that's the two greatest heavyweights right off the bat. Alrighty, so now let's go in order of just what I have here down here. I mean, I just put these in randomly. Alrighty, so right off the bat, Hasim Rahman. Actually a very underrated heavyweight of the late 1990s and 2000s. Defeated Lennox Lewis. That's when he really got his shine. Okay, defeated him, but then he lost in the rematch. Also lost to Evander Holyfield, and then a draw against David Tua, and then lost against John Ruiz. So after his Lennox Lewis loss, when he shocked the world, he actually knocked him out. Okay, in the 5th round, he won the WBC, IBF, and IBO heavyweight titles, but then got knocked out the next fight against Lennox Lewis. Couldn't get a win in his next 3 fights. Then started to pick it up. Won the vacant WBC interim heavyweight title in 2005 against Monte Barrett. Then drawed against James Toney, and then lost against Oleg Maskiev. So his career later on was a bit of a on and off, but his win against Lennox Lewis really cemented it up there with, in the conversation with the top heavyweights of all time. I gotta put him at C. Had power, okay. 41 wins by knockout out of his 50 fights, so he definitely had power, but his only big win was against Lennox Lewis. All right, let's talk about Lennox Lewis now. We just talked about Hasim Rahman. I think Lennox Lewis is A tier. Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, Oliver McCall, Tony Tucker, Vitaly Klitschko. I mean, he had a solid resume, very good resume. Only reason why he can't be in the S tier, and I think Lennox Lewis is a top 5 heavyweight of all time. The reason why he can't be an S tier is because of his losses, and his career didn't last or didn't go as long. All right, he didn't accomplish much over a longer period of time compared to guys like Ali and Lewis. Next up, somebody random. Let's do Michael Spinks. All right, Michael Spinks, also another underrated boxer, but not so much at heavyweight. Okay, and because of that, I go with C. Incredible light heavyweight, maybe considered the greatest light heavyweight boxer of all time. But if we take a look at what he did at heavyweight, he defeated Larry Holmes, which was incredible. All right, that definitely made him on this list. All right, beating him again in the rematch, then defeated Stephen Tangsted, Jerry Cooney, but then got knocked out against Mike Tyson in the 1st round. That ended up being his last fight, and that's really what a lot of people know him as when it comes to heavyweight boxing. Obviously, as light heavyweight, he's one of the best of all time, like I mentioned, but when people think of him a lot, they think of that KO against Mike Tyson in the 1st round. But Spinks, let's also do his brother, Leon Spinks. Leon Spinks is a D. I'm sorry. Defeated Muhammad Ali off his, obviously, incredible win, his best win of his career. And if you look at what Leon Spinks did after his career, or after that Ali win, it went downhill very, very much, which is kind of sad. Obviously, he dealt with a lot of things outside of the ring. He was the undisputed heavyweight champion for one time. And that was it. He didn't really accomplish much at all after the Ali win. So I got to give him D. They just didn't accomplish much at heavyweight outside the Ali win. All right, let's do a current boxer today. All right, Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is going to go C as well. He's not hanging with a lot of these top dogs, obviously, but you respect where it's due. Tall heavyweight, strong heavyweight, had power. Prime Anthony Joshua was a fun boxer to watch, which defeated Vladimir Klitschko, went on a little title reign, so he was a fun boxer to watch, but just didn't accomplish much yet. Hey, maybe he's turning his career around after the Ngannou fight. I don't see much. You know, obviously losing against Usyk back-to-back also kind of ruined that. But when you put him up with all these other legends, he's a C tier. All right, let's try to fill that B category quick. Let's see what we can put on B. Oh, I know. Tyson Fury. All right, Tyson Fury we're going to put in the B category. That's going to raise a lot of eyebrows. What? He's better than Michael Spinks, Hasim Rahman, Leon Spinks? Yes. Alrighty. Anthony Joshua, you don't know yet. I think Tyson Fury beats Anthony Joshua, but that's a conversation for another day. Here's why. He held every belt. Okay, it wasn't undisputed, but he did hold every belt. He's going to be fighting for the undisputed belts in May against Alexander Usyk. He held every belt. Defeated Vladimir Klitschko, destroyed Wilder. Great trilogy that was. I mean, very tough fighter. Listen, the amount of times he got knocked down and got back up, you don't see that. You don't see that as much. Dude's built like a light bulb, built like a wisdom tooth already, and the fact that he could dance around the ring like that, move like that, it's incredible. You put Tyson Fury in any era, all right, I think he goes the distance with a lot of guys. I'm sorry. I know it's going to raise a lot of eyebrows, but recency bias has been clouding the judgment of a lot of people these days. That performance against Ngannou was embarrassing for Tyson Fury, I'll admit. But come on now. I think Tyson Fury is going to beat Alexander Usyk in May, and he's really going to make the case of a top 10 heavyweight. I get it. It's crazy. I get it. We don't like to respect the recent guys, but you just look at pure skill. It's incredible what Tyson Fury can do. Alrighty, I know you guys have been wondering Mike Tyson this whole time. Mike Tyson is an A. Alright, he's not S. He's not S because Prime Mike Tyson was a fun boxer to watch. It's overused a lot. Prime Mike Tyson, Prime Mike Tyson, Prime Mike Tyson. He's an A because how he just demolished opponents. Okay, and then he also won a couple belts after he got back from prison, defeated Frank Bruno, other guys. But let me tell you, I think Mike Tyson's a bit overrated. His resume was weak during Prime Mike Tyson. All right, Burbick, old, Larry Holmes, an older Michael Spinks. It was a weak resume. Gets arrested, goes to jail, gets obviously upset by Buster Douglas, but then goes to jail, comes back, defeats bigger opponents now. Evander Holyfield lost. Okay, basically would have lost twice if he didn't bite his ear. Faced Lennox Lewis and lost. His career went off the rails, and if he would have stayed with Customato, who knows what would have happened? Honestly, who knows what would have happened? But he's not S tier because his resume is kind of weak. What he did to opponents was incredible, especially at a young age. The youngest heavyweight champion of all time, undisputed champion, and still a very skilled boxer. But I just don't give him S tier like many people thought he might deserve. Let's do Rocky Marciano. He's A tier also. Okay, not greater than Tyson, but give him A tier. Listen, undisputed heavyweight, retired undefeated, but a lot of his guys that he beat, Joe Louis was old, Ezra Charles was old, so I can't really give it to him much. I can't give him S tier. If Joe Louis was in his prime and Rocky Marciano beat him, well, S tier. But you know, the guys he beat were just questionable because of their age at the time. But Rocky Marciano packed a punch. He was small for heavyweight. If he was fine today, he'd probably be a cruiserweight, light heavyweight. But he was small for heavyweight, and he packed a punch. He folded guys. Who's next? Let's do George Foreman, my favorite boxer of all time. Already, I think he's a top 5 heavyweight of all time. Incredible chin. Oh my goodness, incredible chin. If you ever want to know why he has a great chin, or why he has a chance to be the greatest chin of all time, watch the Evander Holyfield fight. The amount of punches he took and just stayed up at that age too, like a 40-some-year-old old man, big guy against a young prime Evander Holyfield. He was taking punches like it was nothing. He just stand still. And you look at him today. If you hear George Foreman talk today, he sounds perfectly fine. It's incredible. George Foreman, and everybody loves George Foreman. I can't think of any George Foreman haters. If you hate George Foreman, I mean, come on. Why would you hate George Foreman? Did nothing wrong. Great guy, great guy. So why I have him as A tier. Also, I mean, we look back at Joe Frazier win in 1973, defeated him in the second round. Okay, then Jose Ramon, then defeated Ken Norton, all by knockout. None of those fights went past the third round, or past the second round, should I say. Lost against Muhammad Ali, which was an embarrassing loss for George Foreman because he fought stupid. Ali stayed on the ropes. Foreman got tired, got knocked out. Now, when I mentioned George Foreman has a big chin, that Ali fight, you can't really say proves that he doesn't have a good chin, because he didn't really lose from getting knocked out from power from Ali. Ali doesn't have really much power, especially at that point of his career. He lost because Ali just kept, like I mentioned, staying on the ropes. Foreman got gassed, and Ali just kept landing punches on him, eventually fell. He has, in my opinion, the greatest athlete comeback of all time. Took a 10-year hiatus, okay? At 42 years old in 1991, went the distance with Evander Holyfield. Unanimous decision loss, okay? Defeated Jimmy Ellis, Alex Stewart, Pierre Kautzer, and then in 1993, at 44 years old, against Tommy Morrison for the WBO heavyweight title. Went the distance, lost, but another powerful left hook Tommy Morrison had. Couldn't put George Foreman down. Then the following year, 1994, 45 years old, defeated Michael Moore, who was losing the whole fight, and then knocks him out in the 10th round, wins the WBA and IBF heavyweight titles at 45 years old, a 10-year hiatus he took. It's incredible. That, in my opinion, the greatest athlete comeback of all time. All right, let's go back in time again. Let's do Gene Tooney. So I'll go Gene Tooney at B. He's more known for light heavyweight, but he defeated Jack Dempsey twice. Jack Dempsey's a dog. I'll put Jack Dempsey also at B tier. I'll say, yeah, give him B tier because both of those guys, Gene Tooney and Jack Dempsey, obviously very good boxers at the time. I just don't think they beat anybody today or basically past the 1950s. They're limited to their skill, but either way, give them both B tier. Let's do Ezzard Charles. I think he's also a B. And listen, 95 and 25 record. Okay, 95 wins, 25 losses, only 52 by knockout, so almost basically had a 50% KO percentage, a little above that, but still. But why I put him at B, alrighty, still is he won the NBA heavyweight title in 1949, defeated guys like Jersey Joe Walcott, Joe Louis, okay, Joey Maxim, but then lost to Jersey Joe Walcott in KO by 1951 and lost that heavyweight title. Then he really never won a heavyweight title again. He fought Rocky Marciano twice, lost, rematched Jersey Joe Walcott for the heavyweight titles in 1952 and lost, and really didn't complete much after that. Let's do Vitaly Klitschko and Vladimir Klitschko, the Klitschko brothers. Now, I have them both at B tier. They were still underrated boxers. They're known as boring, okay, but that division in general was just boring from 2000 to the early 2010s. They dominate those divisions, though. They dominate those divisions. Vitaly dominated the WBC division, the WBC belt, and then Vladimir dominated everything else. They did everything they could. Powerful punchers. They did everything they could in that division when it was weak. Now, Vitaly lost against Lennox Lewis, which really hurt his career. If Vitaly would have beat Lennox Lewis, you could argue that Vitaly would be up there in A tier. That loss against against Lennox Lewis was embarrassing for Vitaly. But like I mentioned, it was just a weak division in heavyweight boxing at the time. Vladimir Klitschko, very powerful boxer, but lost to Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury later on in his career. I don't think he beats guys like George Foreman, Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis. Obviously, Vitaly can't beat Lennox Lewis, so that's why I have him at B. Knock off some other guys quick. Let's do Andy Ruiz. Alrighty, he defeated Anthony Joshua, became the heavyweight champion. Didn't do much after that. He's not fighting forever. I'll do Wilder also. I say Wilder's a C. His skill is terrible. His skill's an F. But the power. Okay, he's one of the hardest punchers ever. That right hand, I think, is the hardest right hand in boxing history. He did everything he could in a weaker division. Finally faced Tyson Fury, a skilled boxer. Went the distance, drawed, and then got knocked out of the next two fights. That's why I have him at C. We'll do Tommy Morrison now. Tommy Morrison, also, I have to say C. Now, do I think Tommy Morrison beats Wilder and Anthony Joshua and maybe Asim Rahman? Yes. But he only was the champion once. That was against George Foreman. His loss against Ray Mercer, his loss against Lennox Lewis hurt his career. It's unfortunate also what happened to Tommy Morrison's career also. I just got involved with drugs, passed away early. It's unfortunate what happened to Tommy Morrison's career, but he just didn't accomplish as much as the guys above him. And he could have been a very, very good boxer. Incredible left hook. One of the best left hooks in boxing history. He just couldn't take it as far as he could. He didn't really live up to his full potential. Next up, let's do Nikolai Valuev. Listen, he's a C, but what a freak he was. 7 foot tall. But what he did win was the WBA heavyweight title against Ruiz. Defended that a couple times, lost it in 2007, but then won the vacant WBA heavyweight title against Ruiz again. So, geez, Ruiz probably has nightmares about it. And then defended against Evander Holyfield, but then lost it against David Haye by majority decision in 2009. And that was the last he fought. Next up, we got Riddick Bowe. Give him a B. Give him a B. Olympian boxer, okay? Defeated Evander Holyfield twice. Won the WBA, WBC, and the IBF titles against him in 1992. Defended that a couple times against Michael Dokes and Jesse Ferguson. Lost in a majority decision against Holyfield in 1993. No contest against Buster Mathis, but then defeated Larry Donald, Herbie Hyde, which was the WBO heavyweight title. Retained the WBO heavyweight title in 1995. Defeated Holyfield again. Beat Andrew Galata back-to-back, even though Galata got disqualified for the same exact reason. Low blows. Riddick Bowe's record was 43 wins, 1 loss, but it's still a very underrated heavyweight. At one point, he was 34-0 while holding the WBA and IBF heavyweight titles, and also picked up the WBC heavyweight title, like I mentioned, against Evander Holyfield in 1992. So speaking of Holyfield, even though Holyfield wasn't as good as Riddick Bowe, couldn't beat Riddick Bowe already in his trilogy, lost 2 out of the 3. I still think Holyfield is greater than Riddick Bowe. Let me tell you why. Undisputed in heavyweight and cruiserweight. Defeated guys like Mike Tyson and then Buster Douglas, especially after him beating Mike Tyson. Knocked him out in the 3rd round. That's when he won his first heavyweight title. Won the WBA, WBC, IBF heavyweight title. Defeated George Foreman, Burke Cooper, Larry Holmes. Then Mike Tyson out, the big rivalry in 1996. Knocked him out in the 11th round to win the WBA heavyweight title. Mike Tyson got disqualified, bit his ear in 1997. Defeated Michael Moore, Von Bean. Drawed against Lennox Lewis, which was controversial, and then ended up losing to Lennox Lewis, but I still think Lennox Lewis is greater than Evander Holyfield anyway. John Ruiz, give him a C tier. I don't give him a D because I'm saying he battled against some good guys, had a good resume, better resume than these 2 guys, but other than that, I mean, his loss against Roy Jones Jr., kind of embarrassing, and I get it. Roy Jones Jr., he's not on here because he was a one-time champ, but I mean, come on. You bumped up all the way up and you lose to him. Now, I don't know if that really says much about how great Roy Jones Jr. was or just how bad John Ruiz was. It is what it is. John Ruiz did beat, like I said, Evander Holyfield, but that was really it. Now let's do John L. Sullivan, all right? I mean, he's like one of the earlier boxers. I give him C also. I mean, he also is considered one of the greatest of all time, but I mean, listen, I don't think anybody who fought before 1900s, 1910s, 1920s is going to be beat in any of the guys from 1940s and up. I'm sorry, but like, come on. His last fight was in 1892. I mean, these guys were fighting 75 rounds. I mean, I get it. Crazy compared to today, but everything was so much different back then. I'm sorry. And on top of that, he'd probably be fighting in the light heavyweight or cruiserweight division. So I'm sorry, but he's level C. Let's do Alexander Usyk quick. So I'd put him at C. I think he has potential to bump up to B. Okay, obviously after the Tyson Fury fight, also Usyk's one of the greatest cruiserweight boxers of all time. You could argue he's better than Evander Holyfield because Usyk was undisputed with the 4-belt era. But, you know what I mean, didn't really accomplish much at heavyweight yet. I mean, he has 3 belts, so yes, he did. But against Anthony Joshua twice. Tyson Fury, though, we're going to see. Larry Holmes, I give him an A. All right, many people think of him as the guy who beat up on Muhammad Ali and got knocked out by Mike Tyson. That's what a lot of people think of. When I think of Larry Holmes, I think of a guy with an incredible jab and a guy who dominated boxing in the 1980s. Trevor Berbick, Leon Spinks, Jerry Cooney, Randall Cobb, Tim Weatherspoon, Marvis Frazier, James Smith, David Bay, Carl Williams, and then lost to Michael Spinks and Mike Tyson. But his reign in the 1980s, from basically 1978 all the way up to 1985, is very, very underrated, not talked about enough. Also, probably the greatest jab in boxing, him and Lennox Lewis, so very, very underrated boxer. Next up is Sonny Liston. Now, this might hurt a lot of people's feelings. Okay, I'm sorry, but I put him at C. Overrated boxer, I'm sorry. One-time champion, defeated Floyd Patterson back-to-back, then got mopped by Muhammad Ali real quick, and then didn't do much after that. Scary, intimidating fighter. But other than that, he really didn't accomplish much. I mean, I get it. He knocked out a lot of guys. Very powerful fighter, but one-time champion against Floyd Patterson, they got taken away from him so easy. Got knocked out in like the first and second rounds in his 2 fights with Muhammad Ali. I'm sorry, but I have him as C. Next up is Smoking Joe Frazier. He's an A. He's an A, all right. Many people think of him before the Ali fight. His loss against George Foreman, I should say, in Ali. Let's take a look at his career. Won the NYSAC heavyweight title in 1968 against Buster Mathis. Defended that for a couple years. Defeated guys like Jerry Corey, Jimmy Ellis, Muhammad Ali, which was a very, very big win in 1971. And then got wrecked against George Foreman in 1973, and then really didn't do much after that. Lost to Muhammad Ali twice after that. Lost to George Foreman again in 1976. Draw it against Floyd Cummings, but then obviously beat Jerry Corey, Jimmy Ellis again. But those guys were like journeyman, really. I guess we could also put up Jerry Corey now. I put him at a C. Okay, he was a journeyman, but his resume was top notch. He was a tough fighter, went in with a lot of the greats. Okay, Joe Frazier, Jimmy Ellis, Muhammad Ali. Okay, twice he went in with there. Joe Frazier, he went in again. Defeated Ernie Shavers, defeated Ron Lyle. Okay, lost against Ken Norton, but a lot of guys he's been in there with. And even though he didn't win a title, I think he beats, like I said, these two guys. I think he defeats other heavyweights. You can even make the case that he's one of the greatest heavyweight contenders of all time. We could also do Floyd Patterson. So Floyd Patterson, I put him at a B. He ran the 50s and 60s in boxing. All right, lost against Sonny Liston, and Muhammad Ali later on in his career also lost to Jerry Corey, like I mentioned, Jimmy Ellis. But, okay, 55-8 record. And like I mentioned, he ran the 50s in boxing, defeated Archie Moore in 56, defended those titles in 1959, up until 1959, then lost against Johansson, and but then in 59, but then faced him 3 times in a row, and he won it twice after. So 2 out of the 3 he won. Defeated Tom McNeely in 1961, and then his career kind of went downhill after 62. Though he did get title shots, like I mentioned, against Muhammad Ali and Jimmy Ellis. Jack Johnson, okay? I'm going to put Jack Johnson at B also. Now, he didn't really get as many opportunities due to racism back then, obviously. If he did, who knows what would have happened? Very good boxer, very hard puncher, 68 wins, 11 losses. But like I mentioned, he just didn't get the chances that he deserved until later on in his career, at 30 years old. But his biggest win of his career, one of the biggest wins in boxing history, was against James Jeffries in 1910. It was a 45-round fight, but it was ended in 15 when he knocked him out in the 15th round, retained the world heavyweight title. What I do expect from guys from that era, 45 rounds potentially. They're fighting 20 rounds. But they ended obviously earlier, but the stamina is crazy. Next up, let's do Ken Norton. I give him a C. All right, popular fighter back then, defeated Muhammad Ali, but then lost against Muhammad Ali, and then lost against George Foreman. Also lost against Larry Holmes, Ernie Shavers, Jerry Cooney. He also never really won a real title. I mean, he defeated Muhammad Ali for the NABF heavyweight title in 1973, but when he had a chance to fight for the WBA, WBC, and the ring heavyweight titles against George Foreman, he lost by a second-round knockout. Next up, Michael Moore. So a very good light heavyweight. I'd put him in the A category for light heavyweight. But for heavyweight, I give him a C. Shannon Briggs now, D level fighter. Listen, one-time champion, won the WBO heavyweight title in 2006, which was actually pretty crazy if you watched a fight. 1 second left. He was actually losing on the cards also. 1 second left of the fight, and the ref calls it off for his opponent. He knocked him out of the ring and everything like that. So if the fight actually went the distance, went to the cards, Shannon Briggs probably would have lost, but he knocked him out late into the 12th round. Very hard puncher, though. Defeated George Foreman, even though Foreman was old, but lost to Lennox Lewis. Lost to Vitaly Klitschko pretty bad, actually. If you ever looked into that fight, Shannon Briggs actually went to the hospital, got beat up really bad, almost kind of lost his life. So, I put him on here because, he's a popular name in boxing, especially during that time, that weak heavyweight time. But other than that, he's a D-level fighter. Well, everybody, that was my tier list for the heavyweight boxers, okay? I'm sure you don't agree with everything, and that's okay. If you disagree with some things, comment down below. I'll be happy to discuss and debate, maybe change my mind. Maybe I change your mind. But I definitely enjoyed. Hope you guys did too. Make sure to subscribe. I'll do more tier lists in the future. Always, though, doing sports history, boxing history. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm out, guys. Peace.